Welcome back to my channel. This is my 2002 Jeep Wrangler that I only paid $1,800 for and have been rebuilding the last 6 episodes or so. I would give a quick recap of what all we've done to it. It is just a lot. We've done a lot to this thing. Pretty much rebuilt the whole frame. Along with that, fixed all the rust in the inside and on the body itself. Did a bunch of body work to it. Put a whole new 4-inch long arm lift kit from Rough Country on there, along with a new drive shaft and other things. And then last episode, we got this whole thing painted. And as you can see, it is pretty different looking. I'm happy to hear and see from the comments in last episode, I got a lot of comments last episode, that it went over pretty well. I was expecting a lot worse, but for the most part, I think people like it. Even if it's not their taste or their style, they still appreciate the work that went into it and the fact that it's different. It stands out and it's not like every other Jeep on the road. And that is what I was going for. I want something to stand out, and if you see this on the road, you know it's mine. We're getting close to having this thing finished, but we still have quite a bit of work to do. The whole interior is taken apart right now because I had to fix a lot of rust on the floor pans, patch a lot of holes. There's quite a bit of big holes in there. And I also repainted it all with bed liner after I fixed all the rust, so it looks really good in there. I was keeping it taken apart because I knew I was going to repaint this thing, but now it's time to put it back together. Along with that, I have some new parts I need to put on this. I have new front bumper, new rear bumper, new lights, new tail lights, a lot of stuff that I need to install back on this thing. And another big thing is a new soft top to go on this thing because we did a lot of work to it, so we might as well make it all new. Hopefully by the end of this episode, we will have it all back together and able to drive it for a little bit. I've been able to drive it up and down my road, but I don't have any seats in here, so I haven't got the full test of what it can do now. I haven't been able to take it off-roading yet because of the rust that we had to deal with. I was afraid it was going to snap in half because it was pretty bad. So I'm really excited to get this thing back together and finally be able to see what it can do. First thing I'm going to start with is the interior. Now I would slap it all back together, but I want to clean it up because there's a lot of dust in here. And also the roll cage, as you can see, is white. That was the original color of this Jeep. I want to go ahead and repaint that. I'm thinking about painting it black. I think that's just the easiest way to go about this. I don't have to take it out of the car or anything. This is a little bit tricky to take out just because of the tight squeeze in there. I don't want to scratch the paint or anything. Best way to do this is take the covers off, sand them down, and then maybe put a tarp over the whole thing, tape it up good, and just spray paint it black. I think that's just the best way to go about this. Plus it will match the rest of the interior. All the interior is black, so I think that would look good. Once we get all that painted, we can start putting the interior back together. Got some new goodies for that, new radio, some other new things coming in. We got a good bit of work to do. So the interior is the first thing we're gonna start with. Let's do it. After about 3 months or so, the interior is finally back together. It still looks amazing, looks really good. Starting off with the roll cage, like I said, I wanted to paint it because it was still white. Went ahead and just spray painted it black. It looks really good. You don't really see a whole lot of it, but it matches at least, and I'm really happy about that. After all that was done, painted, and put back together, I took out these carpets and pressure washed them. They were pretty gross. I don't know if they've ever been cleaned before. The worst was the driver's side, which is to be expected because this part sees the most usage. I cleaned it up pretty good. It's still a little discolored right here. If I would have put a lot of time into it, like scrubbed it with some soap and water and put a lot of effort into it, I think I could have got it back to the right color. But this is a Jeep, so it's going to be seeing a lot more dirt and off-road, so I could easily throw a floor mat down there and you would never even notice it. Or I could just take the carpet out completely because the floor is all redone, all painted with bed liner, and it looks really good, so could go either way. Also, check out my new radio. This is a doubled-in touchscreen radio with Apple CarPlay, front camera, rear backup camera. It has pretty much everything that the modern cars have. This is definitely the best aftermarket radio that I've ever used. It's very fast. Like, there's really no lag. I'll link this radio in my description. I'm not affiliated with them or anything, but this has definitely been the best aftermarket radio I've ever used, so figured I'd show it off to you guys. Then finally, I cleaned up the seats, got them all back installed. I even fixed the passenger seat. These Jeeps have a problem with a little bit of a wobble in the passenger seat, and that's because of the mechanism that folds it forward. I replaced those plastic little pieces that keep it from wobbling. Installed it all back in the car with new stainless steel hardware, so I shouldn't have to worry about the bolts rusting out like they did before, which we replaced already. When I bought this Jeep, it already had the Rough Country seat covers on it, and it looks really good. It matches the rest of it. The seats underneath are in good shape. I don't know if I want to take the seat covers off or not. Not really sure. Eventually, I would love to just redesign this whole interior. Maybe install some seats from a newer Jeep. Same thing with the dash here. I don't know what you could do, but I would love to modernize it a little bit. Maybe a new steering wheel, upgrade the gauges. Not really sure. You just don't see a lot of people doing anything super custom to the inside of these. I would just like to switch it up and do something different. Eventually that will happen, but for now, this works out really good and I can actually start driving this thing again. With all that done and put back together, we can start driving this thing again. But first, I need to install the new tail lights and headlights and everything. Also, I want to install these new bumpers. Hooke Off-Road sent me out a new front and rear bumper that is matching. The rear bumper has an extra tire carrier, which I don't know if I'm going to install yet because I don't have an extra wheel just yet. And also the front has a stinger bar, which I always really liked. I think it looks really good on Jeeps. The bumpers that were on this Jeep are either rusted out or in really rough shape. So new bumpers are definitely needed. I think it's gonna really tie this thing together and set it off. So with that being said, let's go ahead and open all these boxes, piece it all together, and install them on the Jeep. so much better. This looks really good, and it definitely matches the vibe I'm going for. The obvious thing right now is that it's skipping leg day. Once we get some new wheels on this, it's gonna look way better. Right now, you just kind of have to imagine with some better wheels. Starting off with the front end, we got it all back together. New bumper, new everything. This front bumper is Hooke Off-Road's front bumper. They offer many different options for pretty much any year Jeep. I went with this one because I like the look of the little stinger bar in the front. This is also a combo deal, so it comes with this front bumper and also the rear bumper that matches, and the rear bumper also has a spare tire holder. All of it got delivered in like 2 or 3 days, so super fast shipping. Plus it was boxed up very well, had a bunch of foam in it to keep it from getting damaged. It mounted up perfectly, slid it right on, and it bolted right up. Didn't have to do any kind of modifications or anything. Also, it came with these LED lights in the front. In the pictures I saw it had LED lights, but I thought I would have to buy them aftermarket. It's really cool that it already comes with it. I don't have them hooked up yet. I'm still figuring out how I want to hook them up and where I want the switch to go, but once we figure that out, we'll get it all hooked up. It's not gonna be super hard. Also has a spot right here for a winch. I am gonna install one. It's just waiting for it to come in. Really, I'm waiting to order one and then for it to come in and install it. We will have one, especially before we take this thing fully off-roading. New LED headlights, I think these were like 50 or 60 bucks, just an Amazon option. They look nice, they're very bright. This one actually came broken, so I'm getting a replacement sent out here really quickly. But they're very bright, and I think it looks a lot better and matches the rest of the vibe of the Jeep. I also got these grill inserts. I think they look cool. I wasn't sure if they're gonna look good or not, but I do like the look, and they were only like 13 bucks. So if I didn't like them, I was just gonna take them off, but I think it looks good. Let me know what you think. Same thing with the front. We got the whole rear end on. This was actually pretty easy. I did have to get my dad to help me lift it up so we could bolt it on, but that only took 10 minutes. It was very easy to install, and it just all pieces together. Comes with everything you need in the box, all the hardware, everything brand new. Over on this side is the lock and unlock switch for your tire carrier. You can open it up, that way you can still get into your trunk. Most Jeeps have the spare tire mounted up to the tailgate, and it puts a lot of strain on it. And if you keep an eye out for the Jeeps that have a spare tire mounted up to this, it ruins your tailgate, it bends it. It adds a lot of extra weight to it that's not necessary, so this is a really good option if you have some big tires and wheels that's going to weigh down your tailgate. It's a little tricky to latch right now, and that's because I don't have a spare tire on it, so I have to put a little bit of weight to it to get it to latch. But pretty easy, and it locks in place, so you don't have to worry about it opening on the road. Same thing as the front, it also has these LED lights in the back. I think I'm gonna hook them up to my reverse lights, that way it's a lot brighter back here. Maybe have its own separate switch, I'm not really sure yet. And speaking of lights, I also installed new LED lights. These are just an aftermarket option, so I had to wire them up. Not super hard to do. There's a wiring diagram online that you can follow. It's pretty easy. There's only 3 wires in the back, so pretty standard. Not super hard to do. And also, I hooked up my reverse camera. I might end up moving this because I don't know how big my spare tire is going to be, so it might cover it. Probably going to end up having to move it somewhere else, but we'll figure that out when it comes to it. All right, it's almost back together. Last thing we need to do is install the soft top back on it. The soft top I have is in good shape. It's just kind of old and the inside's a little bit falling apart, so I'm gonna go ahead and install a new one. I have a new one already from Rough Country. They sent it out a while ago when I first got this car. They're pretty easy to install and very affordable, so we're gonna go ahead and slap it back on, take the old one off, and install the new one. Also finish up the final little touches like the turn signals. It's a little bit of wiring I have to do back here, and whatever else we can find. It's almost done, almost ready to drive. I'm very excited. I can't wait to drive this thing again. Putting the top back on, really putting a new one back on, made a huge difference. It looks complete now. And this style paint job looks 10 times better with a top on, I think. This complete top is from roughcountry.com. This is my second one I installed, and even the old one that came off of this was also Rough Country, and it was in pretty good shape. It was just starting to fall apart a little bit. It was probably close to 10 years old, so I think it was about time for a new one. Installing these is pretty easy. It just takes a couple screws along the front here, and then you fold it back. And then the rest of it is just Velcro, zippers, and buttons. It's really easy to install. I think it took me maybe a total of 30 minutes to install this. Moving on to the front here, I got the new light in. It works, everything's working right. And then I also installed new LED turn signals in the front and on the sides right here. They work well, it plugged right up in. I didn't have to do any kind of wiring, which makes it really nice and easy. And the black definitely looks the best. I'm debating on whether or not to paint this chrome. It kind of stands out a little bit, but not really too sure if it's that big of a deal. Let me know what you think. With all that done and put back together, I started driving it. I've actually been driving it for the past couple days, and it rides pretty much perfect. I was really expecting the alignment to be off, the steering wheel to be crooked, and to be all over the road just because I did a lot of work to this. I basically rebuilt the whole chassis, put in a whole new suspension underneath. You would expect it to be not perfect, but it's pretty close to perfect. I have no complaints and I haven't found anything wrong with it. I'm not saying I wish there was something wrong with it, but it's kind of unbelievable that there's nothing wrong with how it drives. It runs and drives perfectly. I was due for a little bit of good luck, so I'm gonna take it. Definitely gonna continue to drive it here for the next few weeks, make sure it's all working right, and then after that's done, we can move on from there. But this build is not done yet. As you can see, it still needs wheels and tires. I'm still kind of looking, trying to find something I like. It just desperately needs some new wheels. Really bad. I'm not sure how long it's gonna be before we get new wheels on it, but it's definitely gonna happen. And once it happens, we can start fully testing this thing out. I keep saying that too. But I want to get the correct wheels on here and then take it off-roading. That way we get the full experience and then we can do adjustments from there. First off, these tires are really terrible. I shouldn't go on a very long trip with it. They're all dry rotted and old, so just drive it around town, make sure it's all good until we get actual wheels on this thing. All right, that is it. Huge thank you to the sponsors of this episode, Hooke Road, for sending out the bumpers. I'm gonna link them in my description. You guys can check them out. All the different kind of bumper combinations they have for other kinds of Jeeps, trucks, pretty much any kind of off-road vehicle. They have a ton of accessories. You guys can check them out. Links in my description. Next time you see this Jeep on my channel, we're gonna have new wheels. We're gonna be taking it off-roading. We're gonna be doing a lot of cool stuff. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully soon. We'll see. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for commenting. Thank you. Bye, guys.